Have you ever felt like your company has this incredible, game-changing vision, but somehow between the big meeting and the daily grind, it just vanishes? Well, today we're going to talk about Hoshin Kanri, a really powerful system that acts like a compass for your entire organization, making sure that that huge vision actually becomes everyone's reality.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll nail down a problem I think we all know too well, the strategy disconnect. Then we'll introduce Hoshin Kanri as the fix, the compass for your vision. We'll get into the nuts and bolts of how it works, look at a cool tool called the X Matrix, talk about the very real human challenges you'll face, and wrap up with the ultimate goal, actually creating your future.
All right, let's kick things off with a feeling that is just painfully familiar. It's that huge gap between a brilliant idea in a strategy session and what actually happens on a Monday morning. I mean, it's the classic story, isn't it? The leadership team unveils a bold new plan. Everyone's nodding and excited. But then a year goes by, and you look around and not much has really changed. Why? Why do these amazing strategies just seem to fizzle out? Well, let's look at the science, see if any of this rings a bell. The vision from senior management doesn't really connect with what people are doing day to day. You're always missing budgets, always missing forecasts. The plan for this year feels totally separate from last year's plan, and your employees, they just don't feel like they're on the team. Plus, you're drowning in way too many projects. These aren't just little headaches, they are giant red flags that your strategy is disconnected.
But what if there was a way to build a bridge across that gap? Well, that's where our solution comes in. This is Hoshin Kanri, a method designed from the ground up to be the compass that points everyone to the same true north. At its very heart, Hoshin Kanri gives you what you could call a vision compass. It's a tool that makes sure everyone, and I mean everyone, from the CEO all the way to the brand new hire, has a clear, consistent direction to follow. No more guessing. You know, the name itself is just perfect. If you break down the Japanese words, Hoshin Kanri literally means shining metal, pointing direction. And what's that? It's a compass. It's such a beautiful way to think about a system that is all about alignment and having a clear, focused direction. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Let's see how Hoshin is different from something more traditional, like management by objectives, or MBO. You see, MBO really only cares about the end result. Did you hit the number? But Hoshin planning cares just as much about how you get there. It's focused on building solid, repeatable processes that lead to success again and again.
So how does this compass actually do its thing? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine that really drives this whole alignment machine.
Okay, at the very core of Hoshin is a cycle you might have seen before. Plan, do, check, act. But here, it's a relentless loop. You plan what you're going to do it, you check your results against what you planned, and then you act on what you learned to make it better next time. It's this cycle that keeps the whole organization learning, adapting, and getting better. And this part is just brilliant. It's a concept called catchball. See, strategy isn't just a memo that comes down from the top. Instead, ideas and goals get tossed back and forth between different levels of the company, kind of like playing catch. Management throws out an idea, the team throws back refinements, and you keep going until the idea is solid and everyone feels like they own it. Now, let's talk about the master tool that pulls all of this together. If Hoshin is the system, then the X Matrix is the one-page blueprint that lets everybody see the entire strategy at a single glance.
The real magic of the X Matrix is how it takes all this complexity, your long-term vision, your goals for this year, the actual projects, the metrics, who's in charge, and puts it all on one single, easy-to-understand page. It's pretty amazing.
Okay, so let's break this thing down. It all starts at the bottom. This is where we answer the big question: what are our massive 3 to 5 year breakthrough goals? This is the destination on the horizon. Then we move over to the left side. This quadrant answers how. How are we going to make progress toward those big goals this year? These are your top improvement priorities, the big bets you're making right now. Next, we go to the top, where we get really specific. This is the how much quadrant. These are your concrete, measurable targets. It's not just get better at sales, it's increase sales by 15%. This is where you prove it's working. And finally, on the right side, we answer maybe the most important question of all: who? This is where we assign names, we assign ownership, and just like that, with this one document, the entire strategy, from the 5-year dream down to who's doing what tomorrow, is all connected and visible to the entire company. Okay, so the system looks great on paper, right? But what about people? A perfect blueprint means nothing if the team doesn't want to build it. Even the best system runs into human resistance. So let's get real about the challenges. Does this sound familiar? You propose a new way of doing things, and you immediately hit this wall of resistance. You hear things like, "Oh, we already do that," or "We just don't have time for this." And my personal favorite, "The way we do it now is just fine." Getting past this initial no is almost always the biggest battle.
And here's another huge hurdle, the unrealistic stretch goal. Let's look at how this plays out. The CEO just declares, "We need to double sales." The sales lead, who is closer to reality, immediately thinks, "Whoa, that's a huge stretch. My team is going to think that's impossible," and it becomes instantly demotivating.
And then the problem just gets passed down the line. The next exec down the chain softens it with a nice little cliche, "Hey, if we shoot for the stars, we'll hit the moon." But the VP of sales knows it doesn't make sense, but what can they do? They just say, "Well, it's your call," and the bad idea moves forward. This is the exact kind of breakdown that Hoshin Kanri, with its catchball process, is designed to stop dead in its tracks.
So let's bring this all together. Why would you go through the effort to put a system like this in place? What's the real payoff? Well, it's about completely changing how your company thinks about its own future.
And that really gets to the heart of the Hoshin Kanri mindset. It's all built on this incredibly powerful idea. You stop reacting to what the future might bring, and you start proactively creating the future you want. It's not a crystal ball, it's a blueprint for building. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about for your own organization. Are you just planning for the future, making a document that might just sit on a shelf? Or are you actively building a system, a true compass that gives everyone the power to create that future together? Thanks for watching.